That's incredible. We're still live on the line with Freedove, and we are talking about some of her music here. And you kind of touched on this a little earlier, but I'm going to ask you to expound upon it. I know for me, some of the artists that have inspired me in my past were Prince, Marvin Gaye, and also Lionel Richie and Yanni. What artists inspire you?
Well, there's no one artist in particular. There are many and varied. I love Seal, Annie Lennox, DC Talk, Lewis Taylor, the late Ephraim Lewis, Marvin Gaye. There's so many artists and so much music from different genres and eras even that inspire me. I mean, I grew up in the mecca of, blues and jazz and, from a gospel background, and then, the late 80s I was listening to Tears for Fears and all the 80s pop music and, the great R&B songs when R&B was really, really R&B. I don't know what R&B is today, not to be too critical of music today, but, there's so many genres and eras that inspire me. For example, even when I go to, there's not many record stores anymore, of course, either, but when I would visit a record store, I'd incessantly get something from the 70s or the 80s or, something even from the 60s, because a lot of that music was timeless and it still touched me. So, I mean, even today, I think today I love Adele because I love her instrument, and I love the fact that her music is not about image, and it's just really good music, and it's pure talent. I can appreciate, some of the commerciality of music today, but for the most part, I just like really good music and with good instrumentation and a message and a good lyric and a great vocal, So that, again, it's just so much music that's so varied that inspires me.
What projects are you working on right now?
Well, right now I'm working on completing my next project, After the Fire. It's due later this year, and I'm collaborating with producers Soul Stars, Queen Rose, Gregory Del Piero, and Sir Giant on single projects. So right now it's a time of making music.
What is it that you want everyone to know about Freedove?
That's a really, really tough question. That could be subjective, couldn't it be? But I guess I don't know, that I'm just an artist making music, and I'm not looking to be a superstar or super rich. I just love what I do, and I want to make music that inspires, and I want to speak to the human condition and my view of society and how I see the world that I live in, and hopefully inspire and give people a message of hope in some of my songs. And if they can take something away from that, if I can use music, and give a great message and help someone else and inspire them and make them feel good and give them hope, then I feel that that's my purpose, my calling.
Is that how you got the name Freedove?
Wow. I didn't anticipate that question. Freedove, there's a story behind that. My grandmother, who passed away a few years ago, we used to watch TBN, which is a Christian broadcasting network. We used to watch that together all the time. And TBN, of course, had the dove that one, and the dove is a symbol of the Holy Spirit, and my mother's an evangelist, and I'm a person of Christian faith. And I just always found that the dove, the symbol of the dove, the symbol of peace, the symbol of the Holy Spirit, which is the comforter and the provider, and basically the Spirit of God that all of us could draw from. That symbol just stuck out in my head. And I remember, I think it was around when I was 15 years old, I was thinking about pursuing music, and I was asking God, this is going to sound funny, I was asking God for a sign. Yes, I was. At 15 years old, I was asking God for a sign. And in the distance from our home, maybe about a mile away, there was a building that had a banner on it. And I was like, God, if you're with me and if I'm supposed to be doing this, send me a sign. And I kid you not, at that moment, the awning on that banner that was in the distance, it had been, I guess, it wasn't illuminated, but it illuminated at that point, and there was a symbol of a cross and a dove on it. And also around that time, I was reading Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So all of that combined, I didn't exactly take on the name Freedove at that moment, but Freedove became the name of what would be my publishing company and, you know, what I deemed to be my future musical venture. So it became Freedove Music Publishing. And then as I was working with an acclaimed writer, George Fishoff, he wrote Thelma Houston's Don't Leave Me This Way. He was like, you know, Freedove just fits you, it fits your spirit, it fits what you're about, and you should try it as a name, as a moniker. I was like, well, you know, I don't really know that, but, you know, it kind of stuck. So Freedove came about. It's the symbol of the freedom of the Holy Spirit and the Spirit of God in all of us, you know. So that's kind of the stories behind how Freedove, the name, came about.
That's excellent. Do you have any appearances coming up soon?
Well, again, right now I'm focusing on writing and recording the material for After the Fire, and that's an undertaking in itself. But I will be doing some shows and performances locally. So if listeners, if you want to keep up with where I'll be performing locally and come out and support, you can go to reverbnation.com/Freedove or go to www.freedove.com, and you can check out the dates and the performances that I'll be doing.
How do people find your music on the internet? So why don't you repeat that website, or those two websites again?
Well, you can find my music and download it, hint, hint, at iTunes or my website, www.freedove.com, and there's links on my site to digital retailers worldwide. So if you're listening worldwide, you can find it on Amazon UK, you can find it iTunes, Australia, it's everywhere, digitally. And you can also find my music on reverbnation.com and Freedove, /Freedove, of course, and myspace.com /Roxanne Freedove.
Excellent. What I want people to primarily do is consider going to freedove.com, because that's your personal website, and they can learn all that they need to learn about you. And if they go to Reverb Nation, they can keep up with your touring schedule as well. But we want to make sure that people go to freedove.com and purchase your music there. It's a wonderful site, and it's laid out very nicely for anyone to look at, and the graphics are really nice. You got pictures,
thank you so much.
Media, thoughts. You got links, and then there are stores where you can purchase her music. And it's just a really well laid out site, and it's got a link on there to Reverb Nation and a few other spaces.
And I'd also like to interject there and send a shout out to Anulis, ANEWLIS.com. She did the logos and some of the graphics for me. So shout out to Liz at Anulis. Thanks.
If I had to describe Freedove in one word, what would that word be and why?
I've never been asked that question or even thought of summing myself up into one word, but if I